Thank you for joining me for lesson 183 and 184 of our daily study through Sefer HaMitzvos. Today we have seven mitzvahs, and they're relating to the pilgrimage festivals, the three pilgrimage festivals, as the Torah says, 3 days, or excuse me, three times a Jewish male is obligated to come up to the temple or to Jerusalem, and um, to participate in the pilgrimage festivals, the Chagim. So, first of all, is we've said there were three mitzvahs that we had regarding the pilgrimage festivals, and that was uh, to come up to the festivals, to bring the chagiga, the festival offering, and now rejoicing on the festivals. Deuteronomy 16:14 says, "And you shall rejoice on your festival." The primary element of this mitzvah is the obligation to bring the shlamim, the peace offering, and that's an offering that's eaten by the person who brings the offering and the kohanim, the priests, and this is known as a simcha peace offering, so a joy, a peace offering of joy. Also included in this mitzvah is to rejoice in a number of ways, and these ways we still do today, even though we don't have an offering to bring today. Um, that's eating meat, drinking wine, wearing new clothing, giving fruits and sweets to women and children, and the during Sukkot we have the Simchas Beis HaShoeva, the celebration of the water drawing in the temple that featured music and dancing. We still rejoice during Sukkot, and ideally are doing Simchat Beis Hashoeva as well, in a different way, but nonetheless rejoicing, and um, fulfilling our mitzvahs that we have for Sukkot in joy and gladness. All right. So the Torah also requires us to include in the rejoicing the needy, the poor, the converts, and to include um, the Levites, etc. So um, that is the mitzvah to rejoice in our holidays. All right. Now the mitzvah of and this is, by the way, is a negative mitzvah, 156. So I'm just going to go through the first mitzvahs for lesson 183. I kind of jumped right in. That was the first one, was positive mitzvah 54. What does it mean that it's a positive? That it's a you shall do this. The negative mitzvahs, today we have two, which are negative mitzvah 156 and negative mitzvah 229. What does that mean? What is a negative mitzvah? That you should not do. That's the thou shalt not. And then we have two positive mitzvahs, positive 16 and positive 79. All right. So here's our negative mitzvahs. It says, "None shall appear before me empty." So it's forbidden to arrive in Jerusalem for one of the pilgrimage festivals without an offering that you would bring to the temple. At the very least, you would bring an olah offering, a burnt offering, uh, and the chagiga offering, the festival offering. All right. Now, the negative mitzvah of not neglecting the Levite. This comes from Deuteronomy 12:19. Says, "Be careful not to forsake the Levite." So we're enjoined not to neglect the Levites, not to refrain from giving them the gifts that they are due, and to invite them to join in our celebration of the festivals. All right. back to positive mitzvahs. Deuteronomy 31:12 says, "Gather the poor, or excuse me, gather the people together, men, women, and children." All right. So on the second day of Sukkot, on the festival of tabernacles, you might know it as, on the year following the sabbatical year, so that every seventh year, so now on the eighth year, it's a mitzvah for the entire nation to be gathered, and that verses from the book of Deuteronomy, would be read before them. This is Hakal, and that is the gathering of the people. All right, so that is the mitzvah uh, to gather the people together, Sukkot, on the Temple Mount, and so that we obviously can't do in its uh, best way possible. However, we do, in a sense, do so because we do gather together, in our kahilot, in our little kahals, in our synagogues, and so, right now we do what we can, but the hakal, um, the the kahal would be, that is the way it's supposed to be done on Sukkot, on the year following the sabbatical year altogether, the entire nation to hear the Torah read. All right. Exodus 13:2 says, "Sanctify for me every firstborn, every one that opens the womb among the children of Israel, among man and animals." So this mitzvah, we're learning from this verse, the mitzvah of sanctifying the firstborn animals of kosher animals that we own. So we're commanded to sanctify all firstborn kosher cattle and livestock, to separate them, to designate them, to do with them as the Torah commands. If it's a firstborn kosher animal, it's given to the priest. The animal is sacrificed in the temple. Its blood sprinkled on the altar, its fats offered thereon, and its flesh consumed by the priests. Only a firstborn in the land of Israel can be brought as a sacrifice. However, if it's outside the land of Israel, the animal is still holy, but can only be eaten by a priest if it becomes blemished, which means that it's unfit for being a sacrifice. So if you have kosher animals, and you're Jewish, and the firstborn animal, it's still sanctified. It's still to be set apart to give to Cohen. However, right now we can't take it to the temple and have it be offered as an offering on the altar with its the blood splashed on the altar, etc. So now, a Cohen could only eat of that if it becomes blemished, and it could no longer be brought as an offering. So then it can be given to a Cohen, and uh, they can eat the animal. Otherwise, that animal is set apart, and you can't do work with it. You can't really do benefit with it. And in from what I understand, in the days of the shtetls, these animals would just kind of roam around and kind of have a free reign, because they were treated specially because they were holy. All right. Levites are exempt in this mitzvah. So if you are a Levite, that is not a mitzvah that you need to keep. All right. Now we're going on to today's lesson, lesson 184. There's only two mitzvahs here. There are two negative mitzvahs. They're both also regarding the firstborn. There's negative mitzvah 144 and the negative mitzvah 108. So Deuteronomy 12:17 says, "You may not eat within your gates and the firstborn of your cattle." It's forbidden for a priest to eat an unblemished firstborn animal outside of Jerusalem. In addition, it's forbidden for a non-priest to eat of a non-blemished firstborn animal, regardless of location. All right, that's a very similar to the previous mitzvah that we had, but so a priest uh, must eat the unblemished firstborn animal within Jerusalem. However, if it is blemished, it can be eaten outside. In addition, it's forbidden for a non-priest to eat a non-blemished firstborn animal, regardless of location. So, anywhere, anytime, not allowed. All right. And finally, negative commandment 108, redeeming firstborn animals. So, we've talked about previously that you could redeem a firstborn animal. If you wanted to keep it yourself, you could buy it back. Uh, that is not to be done. According to Numbers 18:17, with the firstborn animals, it says, "But the firstborn of an ox, the firstborn of a sheep, the firstborn of a goat, you shall not redeem, they are holy." It's forbidden to redeem a firstborn animal, and it is, however, permitted to sell a blemished firstborn animal, but we can't exchange it for another animal or money that would be used to purchase another animal for sacrifice. Rather, it itself must be offered as an offering, as a sacrifice. All right, that's it for today. Tomorrow we have only one mitzvah, and it's a positive mitzvah. So it's always good to have some positivity. All right, thank you so much for joining me. Have a great day in every way. Bye bye.